Picking it out. We was talking a little bit before we jumped on the air here about, excuse me, our hometown of Geraldine, Alabama. I was born and raised there, as some of y'all know, but you wasn't. You kind of came later. Uh,
Yeah, way later. Uh,
Way later.
yeah, um, it's really, yeah, man. I mean, in a nutshell, my mom is from Geraldine. She lived there her whole life until she went off to college, and that's where she and my dad met when she was going to Berry College in Rome, Georgia. So they got married and lived in Rome for a minute, but then they moved to Macon with my dad's work. So I was born in Macon, Georgia. And then when I was just like 3 or 4, we moved to South Alabama, to a town called Monroeville. And Monroeville was where I went like kindergarten through the ninth grade. And it was such an important time for me, obviously, as it is for all of us as kids, becoming teenagers. And that was where I first fell in love with music. And um, so, yeah, that was where I started learning to play and buying records and put a little garage band together, that kind of thing. But then all of a sudden, my folks decided to move to Geraldine. And that was in the summer between the ninth and 10th grade. And, full disclosure, Andrew, I was devastated.
Oh yeah,
I was,
that's a bad age, man. Leaving all your
yeah,
friends and everything.
yeah, I was 14 and,
Mm,
had a band, had a girlfriend,
mm.
just just felt like I had it all happening. And but really quickly, man, once we moved, and of course my mom knew so many people being from there, and she still had family in town, so they were all really just supportive in helping me and my siblings get kind of acclimated. And I made some friends pretty quick, and um, I played trombone in the marching band, and I don't know, man. In some ways, I felt a little bit like a space alien because nobody moves to Geraldine in the 10th grade. so so I had made some friends with some guys on the football team because they lived just down the street, which I was grateful for because that's always a big social. It just kind of gave me an introduction just to meeting people.
Sure.
It's one thing if the next door neighbor's uncle says, "Hey, this is the new kid." It's a whole other thing if the quarterback on the football team says, "Hey, y'all got to meet this guy."
Yeah, yeah,
So,
for sure.
for the purposes of your podcast, Andrew, you being from Geraldine, I mean, you can appreciate just how I just remember being so relieved that everyone was so cool and friendly, and my being obsessed with rock music and playing some electric guitar, man, it was a real valuable social tool for me. Uh, I can see that clearly now. At the time, it just it was good for my confidence, and it just felt good, man, to know some people. But I would go. Those guys would invite me to go on a camping trip, and they'd say, "Hey, man, bring your guitar. We want you to play that solo to Stairway to Heaven like you did at the you know down at the basketball gym or whatever." So word got around pretty fast that this new kid was a halfway decent guitar player, and um, just magical times, man. And I didn't waste my time finding some like-minded guys, and we put a little band together, and played in the talent show or whatever. So,
In the
um,
lunchroom.
yeah, in the lunchroom, man,
Yeah,
it's kind of legendary now,
yeah.
because 1980. I can't remember if it was 80 or 81, but my future girlfriend, who also turned out to be my future wife and the mother of my three oldest kids, she was the singer in that band, and I had a I had a master plan. It's like, well, we're gonna get Jamie to be the singer, because she's beautiful and she can sing a Pat Benatar song. So that'll give us a leg up. And then two, I figured if we had band practice 2 or 3 times, I might have a chance to get to know her better.
Yeah.
And that's kind of exactly how everything went down. But yeah, man, we played in the talent show there in Geraldine. I was a junior at that point, and there was just several people that came along in that time period. One of them in particular, my old friend Jimmy Davis. Jimmy
I
was
know
from
Jimmy.
Yeah, man. Jimmy was from Crossville, and a few years older than me, 2 or 3. But he was already involved in music. His nephew Tim Hammond, who I wound up being in 3 bands with later. All these were older guys. So
Yeah.
again, it was just feeding my confidence. The fact that these were older guys, they had been in bands, or they were sound men, or they were good players. And, they asked me to come and be a part of whatever they were doing. So I kind of credit that day at the cafeteria
Sure.
in Geraldine. It kind of opened some other doors.
Yeah, I think you made that lunchroom legendary.
I,
A lot more legendary than the food.
well, there's some great stories from back then, man.
Yeah.
There's a great picture. It's on one of these laptops. I'd have to dig it out, Andrew. But man, that year I had bought my first Les Paul. I was bagging groceries at the Foodland grocery store.
Oh yeah.
And saving my money, to buy albums with. And another Jimmy Davis connection, one of the guys in the band, he was working with Charlie Davidson, who graduated from Geraldine like a year or 2 before I came to town. He had this Les Paul, and he kept it for about a week. And as Charlie has done his entire life, he'll get a guitar, play it a week, and say, I don't know, and he'll go trade it for something else. Well, I took one look at that wine red, Gibson Les Paul Custom, and I was like, man, I'm in love. And so I think he sold it to me for $600. And man, I still got that guitar. It's right over there.
Wow.
In my little shelf of the few guitars that I have. And so yeah, man, that thing really, it was my partner for the next 20 years, relentlessly. All through the bands I was in, leaving Geraldine, moving to Birmingham, all those early Brother Kane records. I wrote the songs on that guitar, recorded on, and so. But the picture's great, man, because I remember we that year we won the talent show. We played "Hit Me With Your Best Shot" that Jamie sang, and then we played "Give Me 3 Steps" by Skinhead.
How about that?
And so it's just wild, man. That band in particular was such an important part in all of our lives. And it's just crazy to think now that here we are, 2023, and, it's just, you would think by this time, Andrew, I would have the proper adjectives to describe what it feels like. And I still don't. I don't have them. And I don't know if I ever will. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a good thing, but it's such an honor. And, you can't make this stuff up, man.
Yeah.
You can't make it up. Some kid growing up in a small rural town, loving Southern rock and classic rock. And, hell, man, my biggest dream about Skynyrd was that I could figure out the right way to play the solo in Saturday Night Special.
Oh yeah.
It never occurred to me to think that my band would open for Skynyrd one day, and certainly didn't occur to me that I would be playing guitar in Lynyrd Skynyrd one day. So I'm grateful, man.